Let's start with the corrective blend shapes, and in this case I'm gonna start with the pants and the knees. So the first thing is I have here my my proxy geometry from the pants, so I'm gonna use this one in order to create the corrective blend shape. The reason because I do that is because I have here this topology a bit optimized, so comparing with the original one that we have a bit more topology and this seam here. So when I brush up and I do some smoothing, I maybe break this seam here. So it's better to use this proxy that doesn't have this edge here with the seam, and also here on the double side here. I'm not gonna work on this area, but in some cases if you work, it's gonna also help. And of course around here also, this area, it's much cleaner in terms of topology and area. So that's the reason because I'm gonna use it. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna transfer again. So my proxy pants doesn't have skin cluster, so I'm just gonna transfer back my skin cluster from the original. So I'm just gonna select this, and mGear skin, copy skin. So now I'm just gonna hide my original pants and show the proxy version. Just gonna check it out that everything is moving as expected, so the transfer didn't make any strange thing. You can see here this is straight and everything is correct. In some situations you want to recover the original skinning that you did on the proxy geometry, so it depends of the situation, but in this case it's good enough with this. Okay, so now I have here open my plugin shapes. That is the one that we're gonna use for this corrective blend shape improvement or refinement. I did some tutorials on shapes plugin, so I'm not gonna go over all the options. Also Ingo, the developer, it's very good doing specific tutorials for each of the features, so I'm not gonna go over all these features. I will add later on the tutorial notes all the links for the Vimeo channel from Ingo, so you can check the documentation if you need it. Also the link to the shapes tool. You have like educational version, so it fits for non-commercial. You can use that one. If you have to use it for commercial work, please buy a license. It's not so expensive and it's totally worth the value that you get. Okay, so let's start. So I'm just gonna go here and load my mesh, and I'm just gonna start with the knee. So the knee, in this case, I'm gonna use like a regular set driving key to drive this. So I'm not gonna use the Rbf to drive. I will use Rbf here. My rule is like if it's one axis, in some situations it's better to use the set driving keys. Like here, for instance, is one axis articulation, and what I mean one axis is normally you articulate your knees in this direction. You're not gonna break it like that. But here we use two axes or three. So we use this, and probably you're gonna roll also. So in this situation, you want to use the Rbf. Okay, so let's start. I'm just gonna look for around 90 degrees, so we can be numerical, so using exact values. And let's go to my shapes and start by loading it and edit mode. So we get to the edit mode, and I'm gonna just start modeling here. So I'm just gonna adjust this. I'm gonna try to do it as quick as possible without spending or going too crazy on the detail, but like good enough. One thing I have is I have a hotkey that hides my wireframe on top, so I can model without the clutter of the wireframe. Also, it's good to check from time to time how you get with the smooth proxy. Here on this area, if you want to carve this area, the first thing I do normally it's I just smooth a little and then it's easier to just select some points or some polygons and just pull this out. And now I'm just gonna use the like this, so it's easier to see what I'm doing this area. So I'm just gonna again select polygons. Maybe I can use soft selection and just push a little bit around there. I'm using a mix of the classic brush tool from Artisan, I think it's called, the classic brush tool from Maya, and the shapes brush that it's coming with shapes, that is this one that I have also my hotkey here, that has some options like grab, twist, slide. And sometimes I use the new sculpt tool from Maya. I have the feeling that this I would say this old Artisan, it's better when the polygon count is lower. I feel like it gets better results. Also the configuration by default on the other one, it's not like working for low polygons as good as this one, but it's I think it's a matter of preference, and you don't need to follow here my instructions. You go with something that is good for you, and you don't need to go exactly what I'm doing here. Just trying to brush up a little bit there and there. You can see just little by little. Okay, I think it's good, so I'm just gonna exit, and I have my first corrective here. So I'm just gonna do this one, like I'm just gonna put like a knee. It's good to have the namings always clean, and I'm just gonna call this 90, so it's 90 degrees and left. And here it creates my blend shape one, so I always like to keep my blend shapes clean. In this case, I'm gonna use this pants proxy geoname. Later I will rename it again so it's cleaner. So just pants like this, and blend shape. Always keep the suffix with the name of or the type of the node, so it's easier later when you check on your inputs here. This is the skin cluster and this is the blend shape, so it's quite clean. Okay, so next that I have this one, I'm gonna move to a more closer angle, so around here. And one thing I do here is I don't deactivate this one, I just keep it this active, and I'm gonna sculpt the next one. So the next one, just to check the numbers, I'm gonna use 150 degrees around there, and I'm gonna start sculpting this one on top of this one, so it's gonna be additive. That's a good thing. The RBF, it's not additive, it's always normalized to 1, so maximum you have one blend shape target to 1. But here, because I use the set driving key, so I'm gonna use it, you can add one on top of the other, so you can set the driver to add. So I'm just gonna edit this one now, and same thing. I'm just gonna push, just trying to look for a nice shape. Here I'm not using any reference, this is pretty cartoon character, but I would like to recommend you to use reference if you doing a more realistic, or well, if you looking for something more specific, so it's always good to have reference. And yeah, normally, like if you go Pinterest or some of these websites that you can get a lot of image reference for this. I want to make this curve really nice here. I'm just gonna check it out also the inner part. Don't forget to check that part. Check it out also the smoothing. Okay, I think it's good. So exit. So I have this one. It's just a little, but everything adds. Okay, so this is gonna be same name but 150. Okay, cool. So we have it. Now it's time to connect all this. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna get my driver. In this case, I'm gonna use the joint itself. So I'm gonna use, oh no, this one, selecting the wrong one, this one. So I'm just gonna come here and add from scene. So I have my joint. So I'm just gonna go again for my 90 degrees value. We can do it the other way. It's not important the order here, but I just want to be like in the right order for the tutorial, so nobody get lost on the process. So I'm just hiding this, and of course I need to deactivate this. So this is the original one. So I come here, then select here set driving key, and you see here this is selected and this is the value. It's not 90, it's around 45 degrees, and the reason is because this one is rotating halfway, so that's normal. So expect if you have 90 here, if you use the joint, it's gonna get 45 degrees. If I was using the reader that I can use also, so in this, not all the components have this reader, but in this component we have it. And yeah, it's here. So if I have this one, I'm just gonna add it. So you can see this is 90 degrees. So it's matched perfectly with this one. So we can choose one or the other. In this case, yeah, I'm just gonna use the joint just to show you. Later on the arms, we will use the reader. So we have the both options. Okay, so that's good. So I'm just gonna click here. So it's gonna start from 0 to 45 or something. So just okay here. So if we check now, it's activating here, but maybe it's activating too early, too fast. So it's linear activation. So maybe we want to put this one like fast. That fast, it's like a ramp at the end. So it starts slow and then it ramps up the end. So you can see this one, maybe it's better. You can use the slow, but the slow, it starts very, it's the how it finishes. So it starts quite fast and slow down, but you see this deformation is not as nice at this position as the fast one. The default is the linear, and then they have the smooth that have the easy in, easy out. So in this case, I'm just gonna keep fast. And that's it. I'm just not gonna make any infinite, no, I'm not gonna overdrive this. Now I'm just gonna go for the 150. So just 150 and do exactly the same. But in this case, in the 150, I don't want to start from 0. I want to start from, for instance, 44. So 45. We have 44.89, but I'm just gonna go for 44. So we have a little overlap, and I'm just gonna connect again. And here, instead of the linear, let me put also fast, and let's check out what we get here. Just let me show the geometry. It's quite nice here. Let me try with the linear here. So this is very small, this corrective lane shape, so it's a little detail. So either one of the other will work here. So I'm just gonna keep it linear. Okay, cool. So I'm just gonna save my progress here. And now what we want is to create the mirror. So in this case, and okay, let me make this a little smaller. so I don't need to scroll. Okay, so we have this and we want to make the mirror. So in order to make the mirror, we need to come here and click on this little gear icon and create the yeah, where is it, the opposite, yeah, here. The thing is, because we are using a very specific naming convention like leg, L, something, and so on. If you start shapes from the beginning, it's not gonna have the right configuration. So in this case, you can see here, we have the left and side modifiers, and you have the comma here separated with the comma, and you have left, underscore, underscore, left, left with uppercase, underscore, left with uppercase, LT, LT, L, right, and everything. So here we have all the left and we have all the right. So probably you will have around probably here. So we don't have by default this one, the arm and L and finger, this, because it needs to have the full prefix to make the replacement. And that's how it's designed, this plugin. We need to set that the prefix is not L, but leg underscore L. So you can see here. So we'll understand that this is the prefix for the left side, and we need to put the equivalent on the right side. So these two are equivalent, so it looks a little longer, but it's because the R takes more space than the L. But the it's exactly the same. They must be exactly pairs. So finger, finger, leg, leg, arm, arm. So I'm just gonna add this also to the notes, but you can do it by hand, or if there is another component with a different name or something, you can add it from here. So remember the big gear here under mirror tab, you can set up your mirror template. So it's very important. Don't forget this, because if you do try to do this, it's not gonna find the right side of this leg L0 or something, because it don't know how to find it. So very important note here. Okay, so now that we are clear with the mirroring template, we can just come here and create the opposite. So it's just gonna create the right side and create the opposite. I don't know if I click, because I'm using the Wacom, and I hope I didn't click in the wrong button. Okay, let me check. So okay, that looks like correct, and here looks like it's correct. So I'm just gonna select both at the same time, and you can see, and here you have this button. If you click it, you can see which one is triggering. So this is green and this is green, means both are 100%. If it gets red, means it's overdrive, and if it's yellow, it's halfway done. So okay, we have the knees. So that's all. It's very simple. Let's move for this area around here. So sorry, in this area we're going to use the Rbf Manager, and I hope this video is not getting super long. So for the Rbf Manager, I want to configure the Rbf Manager at the beginning. So that's important note here. So it depends how you want to use it. You may want to use like to make all the correctives and then connect everything to the Rbf, but the best way to do it, it's first create your Rbf and then add all your poses in the Rbf, so everything gets connected and working at the same time. So the first thing, I'm just gonna right click, select from a scene my joint. So I have it here. This is gonna be the leg, 0. And now I come here without anything selected here. Well, you can, but without anything, it's better. So weight driver, and I'm just gonna create a new one. So this is similar to the Rbf Manager. So in the previous video, we have the parent joint, and also we need to set the controller. So I select my FK controller and set it here. Okay, so that's it. I'm just gonna create it. So I have my Rbf node here. So now the trick is, well, one important thing is I created in a rest pose. It's very important. Okay, so if you create it in a already pose, it's gonna be not, I mean, it's not gonna work correctly. Okay, so what I was saying is like, once we have this, now I'm just gonna hide the joints. We can go to the pose that I want to edit, like let's say this one, this is more like, so I'm just gonna click here and just, I put 90, so around there. And with this highlighted or any other underlying corrective blend shape, but we don't have any, so this one, it must be highlighted. We start the edit mode. So when we do that, it's gonna connect everything for us. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm just gonna add here a little bit the butt volume. So I just gonna move a little bit. Again, very simple, but just to give a little volume there. Again, good idea is to hide this. If you don't have the hotkey, of course, you can just unselect and hide this, and you can see the same thing. It's not a big deal. And here for this part, I'm just gonna center here my camera, and I'm just gonna brush this area, but I don't want to touch this area here from the belt. So what I'm gonna do is just gonna make my selection, and now invert my selection like this. So I'm gonna brush with the artisan skull brush on the selection points. And this is important point. If you're using the new skull brush, it doesn't work like that. You need to freeze the geometry in the parts that you don't want to affect. So it's slightly different. But this with and by the way, you can convert point selection to freeze. So, but it's one step more than this one. So I'm just gonna brush chip 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 quickly here, just smoothing. So I'm just getting this, and now here with this is the same. It works with the shapes brush, works only on selection, so that's very convenient. So you can limit your area of affected points, and I can, you see, can use a wide brush without worry that I'm breaking something else. It's very important to keep the things under control. So I'm just gonna try to push this a little out, but don't go crazy. Here, normally around here, we don't have any like crease like so strong, but around here, the internal part, if you check, you will have like a kind of a crease on your trouser. So it's okay to leave this a little crease there. Probably this is one of the most complex areas when it comes for deformation and characters. I read somewhere that they call the evil pulse. It's under pits and this area here where you want to keep everything under control. Here, one option that we can do is also move the belt up. So like if it's pushing the belt it's being pushed by the pants. I'm not gonna do that. I'm just gonna keep the thing simple. Okay, just trying to clean my area. This is gonna take a few minutes. I want to make this in real time. I don't want to make a speed up process here, so you can see how the things are done, and that it's a matter of patience. So it's not like magic brush stroke that it's gonna give you the right position. But it's not slow. If you think I'm spending right now, I checking my time here, it's around 24 minutes. You can have a full character in half day easily. I'm just gonna use the move here. And here care with this. Just don't want to move that area. Okay, around there. And now just want to brush up a little bit. Okay. As I was saying, like, it's okay to give these little creases there. It's natural. And I want to do here is create like kind of a feeling of a wrinkle. Something like that. Maybe this crease is too much, so I'm just gonna move it up. And maybe just and just tweaking a little bit more the part there. So you can see, just checking from the distance is also helping. So you can see why I'm doing the proxy here, because if I had all the loops on the pockets and everything, it's gonna be way more difficult to do this. Okay, can be better, but I think it's good enough. So I'm just gonna exit the edit, and we're gonna see the result is already connected and working. So it's triggered to 1, and this is gonna be, I'm just gonna call this leg, up or front, I don't know. Can be any name that represents the movement. I like 90 degrees. And you can see now it's triggering very smoothly. Now, let's say this one, I would like to cover this area a little more like here. So if we have this, I want to make this a little more like here. So now the only thing I need to do is go to the position, and as I said, like with this selected or any inside this Rbf node, and just go to edit mode again. So I just can go here, and again, just I'm gonna select the belt area and invert. So I'm just gonna limit the area affected, and just gently pushing this area a little bit. Don't go too crazy, because if you go with the big changes in this stage, you're gonna see later like it's wobbling, it's having like some strange behavior. And that's, I mean, if it happens, in many situations, the best solution is just go delete it and do it again. So start clean every time. So you can see now it has change of process here, but you can see the in-between is much better now. And if you need to recover the pose, the advantage of the Rbf Manager, if you set, it's gonna remember the pose. Same with the Rbf Manager, so that's very useful. So here, if I check my channels, it's a 45 degrees. Well, I didn't make it on purpose, but I almost matched this. Okay, so I'm just gonna take this name, paste it here, and say this is the 45 degrees. In many situations, I don't do the typical range of motion. I like to go a bit more organic. I know my like starting points and so on, so I just go to these poses, to these key poses, like for instance this one here, and then start from there backwards. It's also a good technique to add range of motions, but I tend to don't do it in some situations like this one. So again, it all depends of you and your preferences. I'm kind of like, especially with the RBF, go organic, because later I go for the in-betweens and it's super hard to have all the in-betweens for all the characters. Means some characters will need different in-betweens. So again, here, edit, and now same process. So you can see now I start to repeat myself and the way I work. So selecting, invert selection, start moving points really roughly, and then smooth and back again. Probably this pose is not going to be made by the character unless you modeling Jean-Claude Van Damme. It's not a typical pose that you get, but it's good to have it. Okay, so this is good. So I'm just gonna exit here, and this is gonna be leg, and I call this out because it goes to the other side, and 90 left. Okay, so we have this, and if we go to, for instance, I'm just gonna make this middle. I'm just gonna make this quickly, and with this we're gonna finish this tutorial or this video. So we will continue on the next one, but the next one I'm just gonna make it like speed up, because the process is exactly the same. So I'm just gonna make a speed up with voiceover, so you don't need to work with me in the real time for the next one. So I'm just last time inverting my selection. I don't use always this kind of invert. Here is because it's easier to work around the belts area. Okay, try to remove this change of like the shape here. Okay, I'm just gonna call this leg out mid left. So because this is just a mix of several poses, so you can name it as you wish. And here, oops, this is going out. So if you want to edit again, just tweak here and you can edit. And here, just because it makes like a isolate selection like this one. So you just need to unclick here, and you will see how it looks with reference to the other object. So I'm just gonna push this inside and exit. So now it's fixed. So I'm just gonna review again my set of poses. Looks good. This is look good. The out Yeah, maybe we need to tweak a little bit here. So again, tweak it. Make the isolate this option here off, so we can just push it. And now exit mode. And this last one. Okay, so I think it's good enough for this part. We can keep adding and adding until we get all the positions right. But for the general purpose, I think it's enough for a good deformation. So I'm gonna stop this video here. We mark 35 minutes on this video, so it's probably the longest one. And now in the next one, we're gonna transfer this. We're gonna mirror first and then transfer this to the original pants.